Hi, Lori. Thank you for joining me on the podcast. How are you doing?
Well, thanks so much for having me here.
No, it's a pleasure to have you on. Thank you for joining me. With my guests, I like to go back to the start. So, what was life like for you growing up in New York?
I grew up in Long Island in the suburbs. Just went to regular uh, local school, and I was really lucky because obviously I was really interested in music, and there was really good music in these schools that I went to, like really exceptionally good. So that was lucky break. So I did a lot of music in school and outside of school, took lessons and I played guitar also. So I was in like band, orchestra, chorus, kind of every chance I got. And there were a lot of opportunities.
When did you first take an interest in music?
When I was 7, I started playing guitar. It was just around and I picked it up.
Did playing an instrument come naturally to you, or was it a lot of persistent practice?
Both, I guess. Yeah. Obviously I took to it. I liked it a lot, but I worked at it too.
When did cello come into your life?
A few years later at school, for school orchestra, or you could for band or orchestra, you could pick an instrument, and it was kind of a random decision. I don't remember knowing anything about it really.
What was it that made you pick it then?
I was already playing guitar, so I think at some point I tried on clarinet and just didn't take to it, and then somebody said that it was kind of like a guitar, which isn't true at all, but I guess I fell for it.
Did you take to that as you did guitar, the cello?
I liked it right away, and I played them both pretty equally seriously up through high school.
And then when did cello become your main instrument?
Then it was more, then I think in college I just ended up playing a lot more cello, and uh I guess it felt like there were all these sort of different slots to fall in with guitar, and it was kind of hard to I didn't really feel like I was a somebody who wanted to be in a slot. So it was like with cello, I got interested in trying different things with cello and having kind of a more like exploratory approach to it. So that, for whatever reason, seemed a little easier for me on cello, partly because there are so many things that are, there are just so many things that are done on guitar in ways that it's played, and it felt a little bit more like unknown territory with cello.
When you were at music college, is it true you dropped out because um, you felt you were being restricted in your playing?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, in a way, yeah, I felt like, just didn't feel like a good match. But I think I just at that point just didn't really need, I don't know. I think it had to do more with the structure of the school and sort of like having to, I did. It felt like you had to sort of pick a genre, or pick a sort of musical realm. And I just felt like I was just smack in the middle of them. So that was why I dropped out. Yeah.
Over the years, you've played with lots of different bands and different genres. So did you always want to do that and have that musical freedom to do what you wanted to do?
It's very important to me. And I like to be learning all the time. And so, doing a lot of different things has always been appealing in that way, that you're just firing on all cylinders in your head. I like that feeling.
Well, if there's somebody watching this now who wants to start an instrument, be that cello, guitar, or anything, what advice would you give them to get started?
Well, it's nice to have a combination of like some input about, everybody's different, but I would say for me, it was nice to have some training. Like I just found it really fun. And also it sort of puts you into it's a sort of invitation into this lineage and this sort of culture around the instrument, which is just really beautiful. And yeah, just feels great. And then also nice to have some freedom. And it's hard to find that balance, I think. Like often people get training and then they feel really locked in and they can only play a certain way. So uh, maybe I would say to explore, and if you get a teacher, to try to find one who is interested in uh, some combination of training and discipline and also sort of freedom and exploration.
So it's sort of about learning how to play, but then putting your own like unique stamp on it.
Yeah. Some people can do, I mean, for some people it works for all of one or the other of those ends of the spectrum, but most people I know wish they had a little more of one or the other. So it's nice to go into it with that idea.
Well, after college, you moved to Seattle. Was this like to kickstart your music career?
No, no, no. It was not. No, when I moved to Seattle, it was not someplace you would move to kickstart a music career. I mean, you would be crazy to move
Really?
to Seattle. Oh, yeah, it was the end of the earth. Nobody, no, no, that would have been absurd. I mean, yeah, sort of grunge, I mean, Seattle was just a completely unknown entity in the, late 80s or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it was. So I know it was cheap, it was full of artists. It was just kind of like a weird art colony a little bit. So everybody was having a great time making stuff because there was a lot. You just would have to, you just barely have to think about making rent. And so there was a lot of art happening, a lot of artists moving here for that reason.
So there
It
wasn't
was
really a proper music scene happening. It was like people finding their
No,
feet.
but no, it was a lot of music. No, no, there was tons of music. Yeah, no, there were a lot of bands and there was a lot going on, but nobody was making money at it or getting famous or anything like that. I mean, but there was a lot happening. No, but I mean, I guess career, I don't really, is a, I don't, uh, like I'm not a career person that much really in a way. So I just was like, I could play a lot of music here because it's cheap and there's a lot of musicians. You're not, is that a career? I don't think that's a career. I don't know. Maybe it's a career, but it wasn't someplace that you would be like, come to make it or anything. Yeah. You would have to leave here to make it.
What would have been the place you'd have gone to make it there, like New York?
New York, New York, or yeah, whatever, LA or maybe Chicago or probably, yeah, New York or LA, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a really, I'm the wrong person to ask that. Like what, yeah. So I never thought about it. I mean, I've done really well, but it was like just sort of luck and just I don't know, being good at what I do, or just, being very serious about what I do. Like if you so and that's kind of pulled me through. And then also just been able to, do a lot of different things and jump into situations, could have dropped me into a lot of different situations and I can make it work and I think add something. So uh but yeah, I was never really, it's like a funny, weird alien question to me, like career. Wait, what? So that maybe answers your question. No, I didn't move here to to get famous, or yeah, it would have been just absurd. It's really funny, like it's yeah, it's laughable. But there were a lot of there was always really good music here and really good bands and I was kind of more like an experimental music person at that. I mean, I still am, but at that point, like I wasn't really a rock band person at all. I wasn't like was sort of from being here, that happened to me, just because it's obviously it's like such a prominent thing. It's just such a strong thing in the culture. So I sort of just adapted, but I hadn't really hardly played any rock. Like I had never been in a rock band or anything. I was kind of nerdy music, it's just like school orchestra, school jazz band, chamber music, whatever, kind of person. When I moved here, I played for a lot of dance, accompanied dance classes and did a little composing, and it was kind of more like that. So it was a little bit like reverse timeline from how most people are, where I became like more and more of a rocker, but that was a little bit later in my life. I mean, partly obviously because I was playing an instrument that people didn't play in rock bands very much, especially then. It wasn't something really that happened. You'd have to really look hard to find a cello in a rock band at that point. Like I wouldn't say there's zero, but not many.
Would you say Seattle's still creative today?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, there's still a lot. Yeah, there's always great. Yeah. And it's been like that for a long time too. Like I had, I mean, obviously I knew people, older than me and sort of know some of the history. And it's been a good place for music for a long time. A lot of great bands in the 60s, and Jimi Hendrix is from here. He didn't, kind of build up his like career here, but he definitely played a lot here, and it was a big influence. I think also that there was always a history of things being sort of like, maybe I think partly because it's just like, I don't know, it's a port town and there's a lot of different cultural influences, and people are sort of just used to dealing with different kinds of ideas, or I don't know. But anyway, there was always a lot of I think it was like there was a lot of fluidity between the genres, I think. So it was a real characteristic, I think, for a long, long time.
So how did you start your group at the Black Cat Orchestra?
It was actually with a theater piece, actually. We put it together for a theater performance. Like this kind of experimental theater piece that we put together with some friends of ours. And so it was like kind of a band. It was like a kind of a little pit orchestra for a play.
Did you enjoy playing live to start with, or did that were you nervous that it adapted later on that you enjoyed it all?
Yeah, I used to get nervous. Yeah, yeah. I don't really very much anymore, but I used to. Yeah. Not like totally debilitating, but yeah, I had to manage my nerves for a long time.
Would you advise people to pick up an instrument? Is that something you're passionate about?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, yeah, everybody should play something. No, why not? Even if you're not good or whatever. Yeah. No, it's nice to do. And I think it helps to just any kind of, even just a little bit involvement in anything really makes you understand a lot more about how it's put together. And so that's really nice. Yeah. Yeah, it's nice to have background information.
How did you come about playing with Nirvana?
Um, it was through a friend, a mutual friend who, this gal, Billy's brother did this, was who I knew from her day job at the time, which was as a chimney sweep. I worked for her for a few days once, sweeping chimneys out in the suburbs here. And then I had worked with her also she did this public art piece around the Balkan War. And this bakery had been bombed in Sarajevo, where people had been waiting in line for bread, and a bunch of people died. And then this this cellist had gone from the symphony, had gone and played this one piece of music in the rubble every day for one day for each person who had been killed in this bombing. So as a way to connect with that part of the world, Belize made this piece where she had that same number of cellists play around town, just kind of in these different spots. And she had also done an installation in the window of a record store that's still here, although it's moved. It used to be downtown in Belltown, near downtown in Belltown. Wall of Sound. She had done this beautiful installation in the window there with sort of flour and these bread pans. And so anyway, she had gotten some money from Chris, whose family was from that part of the world, for this project. And then when they needed a cellist, they asked Belize because she knew all the cellists already. So from that project. So there were just a couple of people around at the time who could work in that context, I think, because it was like, you had to make up your own parts, or maybe they would hum it to you or whatever. It wasn't like there wasn't like sheet music written out. So it was kind of hard to find cellists at the time. There were a couple other people who could have done it, but not too many. So I got the gig, and then it's easy for me also because it's it's been really a big bonus to play guitar also, because guitarists kind of have their own way of talking about things or thinking about things, or I can see what chords somebody's playing, and so that was really handy. So that made it work. They could just play the song, and I could figure it out and come up with a part, and we could troubleshoot it from there, But nothing was ever written down for that gig.
Were you surprised then to get the offer? Because, like you say, not a lot of cello players got played with rock bands. So were you pretty shocked?
Yeah, I was it was very surprising. Yeah, it was totally weird. Yeah.
Were you a fan of the band before?
I did. I wasn't super into those bands, but I knew them a little bit, and I liked them. And of those bands, that was probably my favorite one, was Nirvana. Yeah. Because I was out at all these different things. Sometimes I'd go to rock shows, but I would just be out hearing like South Asian classical music or whatever crazy thing. You know what I mean? I was kind of all over the place. So I had friends who were like out all the time at the clubs and like really following all the bands. And I was like, I'm kind of a, floater between scenes. So that was definitely the case at the time.
Are you still like that today? Will you still go see different shows?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I go see all kinds of stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Always. Yeah. Always interested in kind of all different kinds of.
You played with Nirvana in 1993 and 94. What was it like being on the road with the band?
Yeah, it was nice. I mean, I liked everybody, and they had a great, they had a great crew, and it was, really comfortable. Like we were super nice hotels, and um it was it was fun. I mean, it was a really super novel experience. I certainly had never played for that many people ever. It was, I never really did it again like that, partly just because I don't like, you're so locked in and you just have to play the same set exactly the same way every day, which really, it just musically, it's a little unsatisfying to me. I mean, it was a good set, but it just feels a little mechanical after a while. For me, it was hard for me to keep that fresh, because I am used to just doing new stuff all the time. And that's kind of like where I'm happiest. Like if I'm having to really study and, like kind of try to outdo myself, but you're not supposed to do that as much in that situation. I mean, I think that there's plenty of art to it, and you could certainly like deliver those songs better and better over time or whatever. But I just always, it'd be like having the same delicious meal every day, like no matter how delicious it is. And I'm sure you could probably cook it a little better every day, but you like want to go out for curry or something like that, like, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of your work is improvised. Is that like to keep it fresh for you then, and to keep it
Yeah,
new?
yeah, no, yeah, no, I like that. And I like, I mean, I like that also I like it as a player, and also like as a listener. If I go out and hear something, like I just like, if there's, you could really hear the wheels turning in somebody's head, somebody's like really on the edge. So I love improvised music for that.
What was your first show with Nirvana?
It was at Roseland Ballroom in New York. It was in the
Okay.
summer. Yeah, that was the first one. So it was a little bit of like a trial run. They had these yeah, I think there might have been two shows. I forget. But anyway, there so it was a little bit trial run in the summer, and then I guess it worked out, and so they hired me for the tour in the fall and winter.
What, so it was like a trial run for the MTV Unplugged?
Yeah, right. And then they kind of made it, well, yeah, it was sort of was like what they were going to make it so that the North American tour was, yeah, kind of a warm up. I mean, I think also there was just I think there was a lot of feeling of like Kurt wanted to really keep it like physically sustainable. I think also he wasn't sure that he could just like how long he could keep singing like that in this super, effortful way. So part of it was just to have a little bit of a break in the set, and then also, and to maybe make it, so that there would be like a longer term transition or partial transition to more maybe more acoustic music or quieter, or just kind of shift it. And then to just feel really loose and really comfortable playing that way by the time we got to Unplugged. Like it was a big, like that was really the height of Unplugged, and people really wanted to shine. It was like people definitely looked at least, musicians kind of looked at it like, well, what can you do if you don't have all that stuff? Like, what do you got? So everybody wanted to really be playing their best for Unplugged. That was a feeling, or if anybody, like, if people seemed like they hadn't considered it that much, it felt like everybody felt a little disappointed, or ripped off a little bit or something, like kind of just like it was it was like a real showcase for people's playing at that point.
It was massive on MTV and things, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a really big thing then. It was a really big deal. uh like everybody knew, I never had, cable TV or whatever, but like I knew when somebody put out a new Unplugged, people were talking about it. And yeah, it was a lot of, yeah, certainly in music world, people were kind of keeping an eye on it.
Well, that Nirvana set is like probably the most iconic one, and you played a very key part in it. What are your memories from that day and from the performance?
I mean, I had some friends in the audience. That was really nice. And it was pretty high pressure. And there was a lot of discussion about like famous people who were there, and people kind of hanging around in the backstage. It had a very had a sort of a little bit glitzy feel. And then I mean, it was for me, it was pretty nerve-wracking just because it's, you're on this set and there's sort of like these, boom arm cameras floating around and stuff like that. So that was a little distracting. So yeah, I felt like I had to really try and stay on task because there was like, it was a charged atmosphere for sure.
You mentioned it was a big event, and I'm sure were you nervous for it?
I was very nervous. Yes. Yeah,
You came out after the second song. Did that help your nerves or make it worse?
I mean, it's hard to wait in general. Waiting is hard. So yeah, right. Not coming on for the first song. Yeah. I was probably, yeah, pretty nervous backstage. I don't remember super well. It was a little bit like, it was a little bit hyper stimulating or something, like, and just so much going on, and like, oh, who was there and whatever. I don't remember who was there, but there was a lot of discussion about it, but it was fun. I mean, it was fun atmosphere too, and I think everybody felt really well prepared, so that was nice. Like, we had rehearsals specifically for that, but it was already the set, like all those songs had been in the set, or most of them anyway. And I knew the Meat Puppets already, like they'd been on tour with us, so felt pretty relaxed and friendly, and like socially or whatever, among those of us who like were in the band and the crew and sort of entourage. But then there was just all this kind of crazy hubbub that was hard to track on.
When you're in this like big moment, is it sort of like an out of body thing when you're performing?
For that it was a little bit. Yeah, it was just because of the whole camera and set thing was really a little nerve-wracking. Yeah, so it was a little bit, but I felt pretty present though, I guess. Yeah, have to be, was on the job, so I got to stay sharp.
Your cello playing like took the performance to that next level. After that performance, did you get a lot of like good feedback yourself?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, always. Yeah. No, that's been nice. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's held up over time. Like part of it's been a little weird to process, actually. Part of it is that like I just had to sign a contract that just gave me like no cut of anything and no rights, and just 100% zero. So like I got paid just a day rate.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And so in a way, it's been nice over time that it did like really pop out for people, because in like it just felt like, as the like for the management and label, like that, that just literally had my performance literally has no value. Like I don't get paid a dime for it. I got paid like $150 or whatever. So that part has been weird. Like that part, I think that's been sort of counterbalanced by it meaning a lot to people. Like I meet people all the time who are like, I'm a professional cellist, and that was the first time I ever heard cello. Like that's happened to me, countless times. So that's nice. So that's sort of is like, well, so that's like again, literally the value of it, So that's yeah. So that's been like, it did feel a little bit like, yeah, you always had this feeling of just like, oh, I guess they just feel like they just could have hired anybody for that, and it just would have been the same, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to literally be valueless.
I think you playing does is brilliant on it. It's not as if like anybody could have done it, I don't think. but I think it is a bit.
I think it took me a long time to realize that about it because of sort of being, treated that way.
What is that? Is that the management of that's nothing to do with the band? That's just the management and record label then.
I don't know who makes the decisions. I mean, I just, whatever. My lawyer talks to their lawyer, and they were just like, this is it, or you could just, we'll just get somebody else or whatever. Take it or leave it.
What about on the like live gigs that you did after that, like after and before on tour and stuff? Did you get a fair share there?
I just got like the union day rate. Yeah. Just kind of got the standard rate. No, that was it. Yeah. A
To me,
couple $100 a day or something like that. I mean, it wasn't okay rate at the time, but yeah.
you seem to me as somebody who's not bothered about the money side of things, though. Is that right? Like, it would have been nice to have been recognised for it, but that's not the be all and end all. Like you said, people coming up to you kind of raises the value for you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, yes, absolutely. That's much more meaningful for me. And it's certainly, has helped. Just that I've done that has opened a lot of doors. And it's totally fine. But it is kind of this, it just kind of always lingers a little bit, like it just is like, wow, really, like zero, like really, you have to take. So once I saw this interview with Bob Johnston, who was this amazing producer for Columbia, like he did like the, Simon and Garfunkel records and Johnny Cash, and I mean, really super iconic records. And he also got 0%. And I remember seeing this interview with him, and he was like, you need to take all the money, really, all of it, like every bit. They do. They just want to take all the money. So, and they can, because I don't have money to sue them or whatever. I'd probably lose.
It is disgusting that, but like you say, that's the music business, really, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's very normal. Unfortunately, in the music business, it's totally normal. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, certainly, many people greater than me have gotten ripped off much worse. And it wasn't like I didn't get ripped. I mean, well, there's probably some money I should get paid, but I'm not going to, chase
You should have definitely got more than what you did. From a fan's point of view.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, for sure. I mean, common sense would say, that people who make things should get compensated fairly for what they make. But capitalism says, why the fuck should I pay you if I don't have to, So that's what we're living with, unfortunately, for the moment.
You mentioned there the rehearsals leading up to the show. What were they like? The rehearsals, did they all go smoothly?
Yeah, I think they went smoothly. Yeah, I I don't remember any, you know, particular drama or stress about them. Yeah, I can't remember too many details about the rehearsals, but it's just a rehearsal. And I think we were pretty well prepared, probably try out a few different songs, whatever. We'd been working on it too a little bit, like as we were touring, I think we were maybe doing a little practicing on the tour. But I have only the vaguest recollections of the rehearsals.
Is it true the day before Kurt was going to pull out with like nerves and stuff?
I don't remember anything like that. But also, you have to like, I wasn't really necessarily privy to like the how the wheels were turning, especially because I was in New York. So I was like visiting a bunch of people and out walking around or whatever. So I wouldn't have been like, I wasn't like in the tour van in the tour bus with everybody or backstage, like we'd just be like, show up tomorrow at 1 for rehearsal and show up and rehearse and then go do whatever I'm doing. So I don't remember hearing about that. So I can't, kind of confirm or refute it. But that's interesting. Yeah, I think he was probably pretty interested. I think he was pretty nervous. And he kind of went into it saying like at the I think maybe to sort of like calm his nerves, there was a feeling that if anything like really went wrong, we would just do the song again. Like he said at the beginning, said it's possible we're just going to do some of these songs twice or whatever. And I thought it went okay, but to me it felt a little loose or something. So I was kind of surprised at the end when we finished the set that he didn't want to do any of them again.
Did he get asked to do an encore? Is that right? You got asked to do an encore, you turned it down.
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember. But he went into like at the beginning, he said, we might do some of these songs again. If it doesn't go well, we'll do them a second time. We'll do one a second time. And so we finished the set and I thought, well, that was pretty good, but I don't know, we can maybe do it better. I just figured we'd do some again, just because he kind of set that up. But we didn't. So and then in retrospect, I thought that was, I was like, it's a good thing I wasn't in charge because I was like, I don't know, it's pretty good. But people really love that, obviously. So I don't know. People really love that album and that set. So it's a good thing I wasn't. Nobody asked me. I didn't say anything. But it felt a little bit, but then of course now it's like the kind of looseness and rawness and intimacy is what people really like. But I think I expected something more polished, which wouldn't have been as good, obviously.
Have you ever watched it back or listened back to it?
Like sometimes I hear it around, or like sometimes I'm in a bar and it's on or something like that. But no, I don't think I've ever, I don't know, I might have like put it on to listen to once or twice or something like that. But the whole, it's just, it has a sad ending for me. So that sort of, kind of, it's very bittersweet now to hear it. It's like very intense emotionally for that, because of, Kurt's sad ending. So it's so loaded. It's like so charged for me. I wouldn't be inclined to just like go hang out and like put it on. But I also I don't really do that ever with my own music. My friend Torben passed away a couple of years ago, and he was real old, and he had been a musician in Denmark. And right after the war, Louis Armstrong came to visit them, and they got to hang out with him. And he was telling me the story about him. And then they were all hanging out with him while he was in the bathtub. I thought that was so charming. And then he just only had his records on. He was listening to records, and it was all his own records. This is Louis Armstrong. So I thought that made me think a lot, because I would never listen to my own stuff. Like I would just be so distracted, and I couldn't. If I had like even to just edit them or like to mix them or something, I usually will just get my friend Mel Detmer to do it. She said, "Oh, that's good. You'll do it." I was like, what I want more than I know even. So just go ahead. And she always thinks that's really funny that I don't really have the patience to listen, but I don't. I had mixed feelings for many years about recording because it's just like I just want to play something and kind of move on. In a way, it's like a luxury of being a musician. And it's just like everything you do just goes off into the ether forever. I think I like that part of it a lot. So it was a little hard to now. I mean, of course, I love recordings and records, and I like to make them and get them and hear them. But then, so, and it's nice to kind of get in on that conversation, but just the process of like capturing it is a little funny for me. So I would never just sit down and listen to really any of my own work.
Yeah,
That included, but then that also has these other layers about knowing sort of what happened after. Yeah, it's but it's fun. I mean, if it comes on, I always like I'm sometimes in a cafe or something and it comes on, and then I always feel like I'm always in this position of like, should I tell the barista that I'm on this, or like I feel a little weird, like I'm some kind of spy or something. It's very funny.
we talked about the shows before, and you said when you played on tour with Nirvana, it was like the biggest crowd you'd played to. With the MTV, obviously it was a more intimate gig. Do you prefer those intimate gigs to bigger shows?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. No, I like for things to be, I like to just even play acoustic. If I can play acoustic, I will always. And it feels like it's just like how it goes through so many steps and so many people and so many different people's hands. And um, I just feel it feels a little more distant. I like to feel, yeah, for things to feel a little more intimate. Some people can really pull it off, and really like play through these, in this giant space, 2 zillion people and giant PA, and it seems really, really intimate. I think that's a rare skill. I don't think yeah. I don't go to those kind of shows very much, and and I, it's just like not an interaction I can relate to all that much, I guess.
I imagine the more intimate shows are probably harder because you've got to keep their attention the whole time. Whereas a big show, it's not you're not seeing the people either, but in a small room, like you're looking into their eyes and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. People talk about that being much more nerve-wracking, that play for like 10 people than 1,000 people or something. Yeah, for that reason. Yeah, people are really listening.
Do you feel that then?
Uh yeah. Yeah, I don't get very nervous for either situation, or not. I mean, depending on what's happening, or but normally I don't get nervous for either situation. Just Yeah, it's just fun at this point.
You're on another album with the band, Live and Loud in Seattle. What was that show like? Because that'll have been kind of like a homecoming too, wasn't it, in Seattle?
Yeah, also a lot of friends there, and that was really fun because it was really fun hanging out. It was in a cool space, like at the pier, at this kind of empty building on the pier, and right, there were a lot of friends around, and with night like I mean, by then we knew the Breeders well. And I mean, those guys knew the Breeders before, but that we had toured with them like probably 3 weeks or something. And I remember talking with um, Flea a bunch, and he was really nice. And so that was just like, that was a really fun hang. And felt like a lively crowd. Yeah, it was just an excited hometown crowd. Had a friend, I got somebody's daughter in, and it was a big deal for her, and it was just, yeah, that was a fun time.
They'll have been the biggest band in the world, really, at that point. What's that like being in that circle with a band that big and being on stage with them?
I mean, it was nice. It was just like, yeah, everybody was really nice. I liked the band. I liked the music. There was like Kurt in particular was under, enormous pressure from being so famous. And I mean, I didn't envy it at all. It was really hard. Obviously, it was really hard on him. It was really stressful. And he was, I mean, personally, I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But I mean, some people like it and some people are kind of born for it. And just what, really happy to have that kind of attention, but it was difficult for him. And so I felt really glad that it was just like, if I like people like maybe kind of knew who I was or didn't know who I was, or it was just like, oh, it's just her. Where's Kurt? It's like, so I felt really glad to not um, be the center of attention in that way. I'm not a fame person at all. Like it seems horrible to me, actually. So people always want to get that famous, or like maybe my kids will get that famous or whatever. It was like, careful what you wish for sure. It's a very harsh lesson in that.
So you've seen the dark side of it, really.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, right. Yeah, absolutely. But because like it's fun to like stay in a nice hotel or whatever, and you get driven around, and that was like not anything I aspired to forever, but it was fun, kind of novel thing. So that's the plus side. But to get that famous, I yeah, I I don't understand the appeal personally. But
He,
yeah, some people handle it better than others, and some people are comfortable with it.
he's gone down as like a legend, obviously, and he's a genius. What was he like to be on stage with, and then what was he like off stage?
Um, he was yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it was pretty straightforward on stage. I think, yeah, everybody just do this like we were well rehearsed, and I think everybody played well together. And um, I feel like it was pretty straightforward on stage. Off stage, yeah, he was not, yeah, he's really smart and funny, had this sort of kind of dry, kind of goofy sense of humor. So yeah, it was always nice hanging out. Everybody, I don't know, I like being with everybody. Yeah, he was pretty hilarious. He had just a real weird, particular sense of humor. Uh, it was funny, like years later, becoming friends with Dylan Carlson, because who I didn't know at the time, but then later I was playing with him in his band Earth, and they had like he was the only person who had a sense of humor that reminded me of Kurt's. It was like, oh, you guys really, were like best buddies when you were at that sort of um, at a kind of pivotal moment, and they, yeah, just both had this kind of really funny, dry, kind of droll delivery, like real sharp, really smart people and very observant and kind of sharp about human nature. So it was fun hanging out with them. And yeah, everybody always like, they always knew about cool stuff. And, they just were interested in like books and comics and weird, like, it's funny also to think about the, it being pre-internet and or pre-social media, pre-YouTube, pre-everything. And so if you want, like, if you to just find out about kind of random stuff was you didn't have access to just like every random thing ever. Like somebody would like give you a cassette of just whatever, somebody's like answering machine or something, or just like somebody's crazy neighbor or whatever. or or to even to just discover a band in another part of the world. It was like everything just was like cassettes going around. It sounds like so medieval, but it's like not that long ago relative to the humanity. But it was so anyway, that was fun. Like there was just always kind of cool stuff floating around, or like also then people would sort of like put cool weird magazines in the green room or whatever. So there was always, you kind of got a lot of just kind of weird cultural drift happening in that. That was probably that would have probably been my favorite part. And then sometimes cool people would show up, also being that famous, like Eddie Van Halen came backstage one time, or you know what I mean? Just stuff like that happens once in a while. That's just funny. I mean, it's not, I mean, I'm not, like a big, like I'm not that much of a fame person, but also just stuff like that would sort of like break up the monotony of being on tour, because it's pretty monotonous being on tour, just like on a bus or in a backstage, once in a while you get a day off. So uh, sometimes somebody cool would come to hang out or just kind of elbow their way into the green room. So.
Crazy. It's not like it's a life not many people have ever had or like ever been that close to, really, innit? Expect that level of fame and being around it.
Yeah. It's been a helpful thing. It's been maybe good and bad for me that I am just like not impressed by fame at all. Like I really just am not a fame person. So I think that helps me just like not be, hopefully too much of a doofus or whatever in those, or just like, you know what I mean? Or like act, like I'm not gonna, if somebody famous shows up, I'm not gonna start like acting weird, because it's tense. Like often it's tense, right? If somebody's super famous, some people obviously just go completely weird and start asking, whatever. Just like there's sometimes this really strange atmosphere and people's manners go out the window or whatever. And um, yeah, generally that's not going to happen. It's good. I can keep my head and I can get hired for stuff like that because I'm just going to be like, whatever, so I've gotten a lot of work like that. I think I can just keep, it just does not, it just doesn't faze me that much, that part of it.
What was your last show with the band?
It was in Seattle. I think it was at the Coliseum in Seattle. I don't think it was the Live and Loud. I think that happened before that, but yeah, I think it was in Seattle. It's one of those
Was
two. I'm pretty sure.
was that the band's last show as well, or
No, because then they went to Europe and the Europe tour got cut short because Kurt overdosed, and yeah, so uh, they did some Europe shows after that, but I wasn't on that.
how come you didn't go?
I don't know, somebody else. They just hired somebody else.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
When was the last time you saw Kurt then?
it would have been at that show.
Was it a big shock then when you heard the news about Kurt?
Yeah, I was totally, yes, I was really surprised. Yeah, yeah. Uh, but I'd also, I mean, I knew like we were friends, but we weren't like close friends. It wasn't like he wasn't like somebody, it was a professional relationship. So I wasn't um didn't know what was going on in his head necessarily. And I hadn't seen him for 4 months or something like that. So I don't know what had happened in the interim or what his frame of mind was. No, I was very surprised.
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it? The,
Sure is.
there's a photo on your Instagram actually. I think you shared it, like remembering him, and it's you, him, Dave, Pat, and Chris. What was that photo? Would that have been the band going forward? Do you think if Kurt was still alive?
No, because they had somebody else on the Europe. They had a different cellist on the Europe tour. So
Or do you not think that they come back to
I
you
was
on
out of the
reunion?
I was out of the picture. What's that?
Do you not think that they come back to you when they came back?
Uh, I mean, I didn't have any reason to believe they would, but
Uh,
certainly.
Oh no, because I just saw the photo and somebody said,
It
"Oh,
happened. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know one way or the other. I was figured I was done, but I don't. But I I would have certainly would have worked with them again if they wanted to. It was nice. I had a nice time, but it was, yeah, it was. I mean, it was fine. I wouldn't. I don't know why I didn't get hired for the Europe tour, but I was totally fine with it. Like it was, it's kind of enough. I mean, yeah, for me it was enough, and that was why I never really did any more touring at that level. Like I got asked a little bit, but to just like play the same set for like 2 years or something, it is really unappealing to me, actually. I mean, however much I like it, but yeah, like I said about sort of having a same delicious meal over and over.
I do often think about that with bands and stuff like when they've got on a big tour, they're playing the same songs every night. I do wonder if they ever do get sick of it.
I think some of them get really sick of it. Yeah. I think a lot of people, yeah, probably find a way to enjoy it, but or just I think a lot of people like probably just straight up enjoy it. Like they just, yeah, like the songs and like to play them, and like to play them the same way. A lot of people really like to have things the same way every time. And then, but yeah, can you imagine or doing it for like 35 years or something like if you have a big hit, but yeah, I don't know. People probably like it okay.
Imagine bands like the Rolling Stones as well that have gone on for so long and they've got to play all their classic hits as well, haven't they? That the fans want.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think that, I mean, some people are just also, yeah, like very, money motivated. So then if you were really money motivated, then you would just be like cha-ching, 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 like every time you said, oh, every note you played, that would probably make it a lot more fun.
You collaborated with a lot of different groups and artists, like we said. Obviously, Nirvana, David Byrne, Earth, Cat Power. There's an endless list. Have you got any favourites that stick out to you?
Um, well, I mean, with the earth, some of them are sort of in passing, and then it's nice to work really closely with people for a long time. And so, yeah, with Earth, that's really like super special. Also nice again because I could sort of do things a little differently all the time and be a bit cut loose on that. But it's uh it's really a special thing to be in a band with somebody, and uh it's just a very sweet relationship. So I think um having like ongoing work is super special. It's nice also to collaborate just kind of briefly, and I love, yeah, just kind of like figuring out what I need to sort of bring to the situation. But with Earth, it's really nice. Like there, we, just to really get the music very deep and to get really far into it and sort of feel like everybody can really grow together. I think is um, there's something especially kind of precious about that.
Have you got to have a chemistry with these people that you collaborate with?
Yeah, no, sometimes, but also, I mean, I sometimes, usually, I mean, I almost always work on stuff that I like, and I think I've just set it up so that my playing's kind of quirky, so you wouldn't necessarily just drop me into something that I didn't fit into necessarily, but I mean, I don't necessarily have to like what I'm doing. Like, I mean, if I really am into the music, obviously there's like it's really special and wonderful. But then I feel also fine. Sometimes I get hard to play on stuff that I don't care for that much, but um, there's a real pleasure in that also. That's like to make it work and just be like, this isn't my thing, but I'm gonna, really try to figure out what they want and how I can add to this, like what their vision of it is, how I can help realize that vision. Like there's also a real pleasure in that for me of just sort of setting myself aside and just bringing what I can to the project.
Your solo album is film scores. When did you start getting into doing film scores?
I did, there were a lot of people around here who were like sort of projecting films independently, like film collectors and projectionists. And so I started working with them with actually probably the first time might have been with this friend of mine who just really, really recently passed away, Eric Larson, who had the series Shining Moments. And then another friend, Dennis Nyback, and they both had these series in this little theater that was like in the back of a bar, just this tiny little, really raggedy old theater. And so I would do film scores. I would do film scoring for them. They would sometimes have programs of shorts, or then maybe sometimes a feature film. And we did them for Black Cat Orchestra at first, and then eventually I started doing solo ones. We also worked with some people who had a film festival at a music festival here, and started doing them, touring a little bit with them. Like we would go to Portland and Olympia with them, not so far, but a bit. So it really became a big thing for Black Cat Orchestra. And then after I was in Nirvana, I got unemployment. So that was kind of what I did with my time when I was getting unemployment insurance, was to kind of offer my services to my friend Dennis Nyback at the Pike Street Cinema. And I was his accompanist there. So that was really, and he kept me really, really busy. So that was kind of like trial by fire to get really good at it. And again, this was pre-internet. We have an amazing, we still have an incredible video store here that we had then, Scarecrow Video. So fortunately, we could get a lot of obscure things there, but not everything was available. So if we couldn't get it there, I would just watch the film once. He would get it, he'd get the 16 millimeter reels in the mail. Maybe 2 days before, I'd go there during the day and watch the film and make some notes. And that was it. That was my only chance to see the film before I scored it. So I got really good at memorizing the films. Like I have very good memory still for like film editing, for like the sequence and the length of films and the structure. It was just trial by fire. I just had to really scramble and get it in my head as much as possible, because I would do them also with other people sometimes. Like I would do them as a duo. So I had to like write notes out and, about sort of like when to wind down the scene or whatever. So I had to work out a very efficient system for doing films. And I still do a lot of film scores, new films and old films, live and not and recorded. And really, I'm really super into film. So it's nice. It's a nice sort of multimedia thing for me. And I've worked a lot with dancers. So there's something for me that's really lovely about kind of like translating movement into sound, or kind of having a dialogue with like visual movement.
You've got to get that emotion across as well with the music, like with the film and stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And sort of follow the dynamic of it, like sort of follow the general shape of the film. Yeah. It's wonderful. I love doing it. I've done it. Yeah. So much.
Is it a lot easier now than it was back then when you could only watch it once?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. It's a lot easier. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, now I'm just used to doing it too, so I can play for the other thing about doing it solo is that you just have to play a lot. Like it used to be exhausting, but I've done it so much it's not particularly tiring. I'm like a little spaced out after, but it's not like, my hand doesn't hurt or whatever.
Last year, you released a collaborative album with Laura Cannell, The Deer Are Small and the Rabbits Are Big. How'd you look back at that album?
Oh yeah, no, that was wonderful. Yeah, we did another one. Hopefully that'll come out before too long. No, that was great. We got to be friends and we did some little touring together, and then I went out to visit her and we just went out to a bunch of old churches and improvised. Yeah, that was great. No, she's really amazing and wonderful to play with, and just, so much of that part of the world. So it was cool. It's really a cool way to experience that part of the world. And there's so many churches around East Anglia. Like I mean, just these beautiful, like really, really old churches. So we just went, I took the train out there from London and we were hanging out at her parents' house, and it was like, which, incredible medieval church should we go to? That's because there were like 20 of them, within a, half-hour drive or something crazy. So that was real luxury. I mean, we don't have spaces like that here, obviously. Like nobody was building churches here before the mid 19th century.
In 2022, you brought out High and Low, and that got a lot of attention and great reviews. Is that one of
Okay.
your favorite albums?
Yeah, absolutely. That was really nice. No, that was really uh my friend Mike Montgomery, who works for the label, Sofa Burn, he just kind of was like, um he kind of just cut me loose. He kind of just let me do whatever I wanted, and he wanted it to really feel um like a uh I don't know, just sort of some kind of statement of my work. I'd done a bunch of other solo albums or other albums, but he wanted to just feel somehow like definitive, which again is hard to do. I mean, because with any kind of art, hopefully it's sort of moving forward. But I felt like the sort of the range of things on there felt very like a kind of a core sample of my music life at that point.
You mentioned a minute ago that you have an album with Laura Cannell that you hope is out soon. What else are you working on at the moment, or what other new music can we expect to hear?
Yeah, I actually have a lot of stuff recorded that I'm trying to get out. I have a duo with a drummer, which I was excited to do because it's something I've done a lot in my life, but I haven't recorded. I haven't released that much material doing that, like an improvised duo. I've been doing a lot of stuff with bowed strings, so I just did a thing that was sort of like partly improvised piece with some folks here. Playing viola, violin, and double bass. And then I'm working on a piece for also another bowed string thing that I'm going to do at a festival in New York, upstate New York, at Kotzebue in late September with a violinist and violist, Gwen Laster and Melanie Dyer. So that's sort of the big push of the summer. But yeah, I have a lot. I can't even remember. I have a lot of stuff recorded. So I'm trying. Yeah, I need to just get it. I need to get stuff out into the world. And then but it's been nice. I've been busy and too out of town and running around playing gigs too much to fuss over that. So it's a nice problem. I'm working also, going to try to do a Southeast US tour, do a Northeast tour in the US in the fall, and then in the winter do a Southeast US tour with my friend who plays guitar and electronics, Zachary James Watkins. So, and we released an album, just like a self-released cassette thing. So, and I the two of us did a trio album with William Wynant that's being kind of finished up right now. So hopefully that'll come out soon too. Yeah. So hopefully, 2026, get all this work out into the world.
Yeah, it sounds good, and I look forward to hearing it all. But thank you for joining me, Laurie. It's been great to speak.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it was really fun to chat with you. Thanks for being so persistent. I was just traveling so much, so I appreciate you writing back a few times. I was just like, it was so hectic. It was just like all I could do to get from one place to the next for a while. But now I can play catch up a little bit now that I'm home, and I'm glad you kept trying. I appreciate it.
No, thank you so much, and thank you for doing it when you did get free time, and getting back to me. It means a lot.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.